Hey, this is Jim. It's 10:50 a.m. in San Francisco, California on May the 17th. Please note that all discussions, analysis, and information presented are for general informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or any other form of professional advice. So I stuck this Bud Fox quote up here from the movie Wall Street because basically this is where we are right now. Life all comes down to a few moments. This is one of them. So we had our volume characteristic we needed to see. This is, they're really dragging this out, but we saw the volume characteristic. Just to refresh your memory, or if you haven't seen one of my videos before, here's what this looks like. We had this beautiful, nice uptrending structure here, and all the volume characteristics met the criteria and matched exactly what you want to see. A wedging volume here. The downtrend dives through the nesting or resting volume, and then you expect to see volume rising, which you do see here. And we were, BAM was expecting an uptrend, and that's what we got. And we got steadily rising. Finally, they put in a top here when they needed to beat the stock back down off of that Anemoi weekly trigger at the 575 level. I think it was 575, 574 at the time. We're at 571 this week. Let me adjust that real quickly. You guys have done it on the other charts. So we're at 571 right now on this weekly trigger. But the takeaway here on the volume characteristics is that as we built this nice move up, they painted all of these green, spiking green 60-minute volume bars that were all increasing nicely, agreeing with the trend. They painted it with a 9.9 million share, a red bar, and they barely, closed it red. They had to just beat and beat and beat on the stock. That's why it took this much volume to be able to control the close. They needed to close that bar red. And what happens is, if you see these nice uptrending, these green volume bars coincident with this nice uptrend, once their algorithm sees that volume on a 60-minute basis was surpassing the morning of May the 5th, was surpassing these previous green closing volume peaks, and that the price move was moving above that weekly trigger, that would have triggered a bunch of buying from other algorithms all across Wall Street if this bar were able to close green, because they knew as soon as volume was heating up past these previous volume spikes that they needed to close that bar green. So this was trading, red. This bar was trading green. And as soon as volume moved above those two peaks, at that point, they knew this is do or die. They have to deploy whatever volume necessary to close that bar red. That's what they did. So they win. They start this downtrend. You can see that within this downtrend, these spiking volume characteristics, this 3.781 million share red bar continued this downtrend here. And then you can see the green volume, the volume in the green bars, so closing higher, did not surpass that 3.78. Downtrend continued. Finally, this morning, we posted a 3.879 million share green bar in the first hour of trading. That happened right there. Now, what that does is two things. It shows us that it's this volume increase is coming exactly on schedule. In other words, we have this downtrend line diving through our nesting or resting volume here. This entire wedging formation here was coincident with the downtrend, and the bears were in control based on that 3.781 million share closing 60-minute bar. On the green bar spikes that were failing rallies, you can see the volume dropping. And then finally, you break out of the wedge as it approaches the collision of the downtrend and the nesting or resting volume. In this case, once again, as we've done in some of these other moves, Our volume spike breaks out a little bit early, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 hours early, which is a good sign. And we were able to paint through that 3.781 million shares. So what should happen next year, assuming we track the BAM model directionally and volume plays out the way it typically does, is that we'll see some other, as early as tomorrow morning, as we move through the sessions this week and into next week, we should continue to print green 60-minute volume bars of 3.879 million or greater. And then eventually what we want to see is this note here. Any 10 million share 60-minute green can trend sharply. Okay, that's because we want to paint through this 9.9 million share red bar here, which stopped our last nice multi-week uptrend. Soon as that happens, then our only other objective, if this is going to turn into a May, June 2021 type melt up, and again, you guys know that if you follow me on Twitter or you're a member of BAM, that the velocity is not as high as it was moving into that May, June period in 2021. So I don't think we'll see a 700% move, but we could easily see a multi-100% move. And if we start to get above this 803 Anemoi monthly trigger, with acceleration up towards some of these retest levels. And if that were to happen into the end of the month of May, then we can actually flip that monthly velocity moving into June. And that would open the door to something to the upside as powerful as 2021. So this is a hugely important period here. Today is the first day that really opens up this zone of strength, and then it becomes more and more powerful as we move toward early next week, especially sort of the 22nd through the 26th, call it. If this works out the way I think it's going to, we will see not only a closing 60-minute bar, green closing 60-minute bar with volume of 10 million shares plus. But as we move into next week, we can kick off 3 consecutive 15 million share 60-minute bars, which would then start some type of a melt up. And from that point, we just need to take a look at the retest levels that are on the board with BAM and take a look at some of the new data that's generated from BAM. Take a look at any possible negative or bearish divergences in the Anemoi terminal as we're rallying, and then just see where it can take us. Here's what the 5-minute looks like. You guys can see this zone of strength tomorrow that starts to intensify tomorrow and then really into next week. This is the zone of strength that I haven't talked much about. We're so close to it now that it doesn't matter if I give the dates, because all these guys can do with the algorithms, even if they want to target this zone of strength, is build things down that will affect something down at my 1 minute and 5 minute fractal level. They can attempt to change the 60-minute, but they don't have enough time based on everything I understand about the algorithms they run. So they'll be fighting against zones of strength here that are generated from my daily model and weekly model, and those take months to years to generate. So the fact that I waited until basically May 17th to start to talk about specific dates in here shouldn't affect our ability to have this work out. The other thing is that in order for this stock to really run, I think it'll have something to do with something that's more of a macro kind of a catalyst. I've thought all along that we needed to see sort of pressure on liquidity, Wall Street liquidity, and that would be what would cause some of this short covering that can then, some of the smaller players short covering there can start to run into some of the intermediate size players and force them to do some covering, and then they can force it up into the bigger guys and force them to do some covering. So the stars need to align, but this is a window that I've been waiting for a long, long time. This window was sitting here before we ever had the lawsuit, before we had dates from the judge, and before we had extended this combination and potential reverse split, that Adam, Aaron, and the board are trying to push through. You guys know my opinion on that. You know, I was open about being a no vote, and the reason I was a no vote is because the 1 for 10 reverse split was too draconian in my opinion, and wasn't needed. So hopefully we'll move through this court process, and the judge will send Adam, Aaron, and team back to the drawing board to revote on something less draconian. That's what I'm hoping. We don't want to have some cash settlement that the pension fund is offering. Obviously, the whole point here is of a reverse split is to put the company in combining the two stocks. Then a reverse split is to put the company in a position to raise capital. So why would we as shareholders want to drain capital from the coffers with the company having to in essence buy shares and hand them to us? So I'm more for a revote and something more along the lines of a 1 for 5 or even less, and especially if we can track higher into this zone of strength prior to the decision by the judge. If the stock is trading above $8, and especially if the stock's running up toward my 12, 14, 21 retest level targets into the second week of June, then the judge, Adam, Aaron, and team are going to be really hard pressed to convince the judge that they need to do a 1 for 10 reverse split to avoid, in his words, becoming a penny stock. You just don't have anything to stand on as far as that goes. So in my mind, that would be a good thing. And we could then allow the company to combine the shares and to do a, like I said, a 1 for 5 or even a 1 for 3, something like that. That's it from my side, you guys. You can see the Anemoi triggers clustering here. So, this daily trigger will continue to drop this week. And as soon as we can move above this 60-minute hourly trigger here, 516 and dropping, as soon as we can move above that, we can start to really accelerate tomorrow. And then again, there's going to be an air pocket between this 531 and this 571 level. And then as we move into next week, we can be off and running. And that's what I think. We will see you guys next week. That's it from my side. Good luck.